Okay, up next I'm going to show you the basics of how to use a spray can. Whether you've never used one before or you've only used one a few times, I'm going to show you as much as possible so you can really feel at ease whenever you're painting. As this is an exercise, you want to make it as easy and comfortable as possible for yourself. About here, like a circle about this big, this is where it's the most comfortable. I can go here. As I start to reach to the left, it's not as comfortable. And as I go higher up, it's not as comfortable either. So to start with, we're just going to do some simple lines. So again, we've got the big cap. So as I know how it works, for me, it's fairly easy to do a line that's fairly small, even though it's a big cap. But as you're starting, your line are probably going to, your lines will probably look like something like that. But don't worry, it's the beginning. We're here to learn. Give it time. So what you want to do is you want to angle the can in the direction of the line as much as you can. You can't always do it, but as much as you can, you want to. Okay, and what you want to do with a circle, I'm going to put one on the inside, is you want to aim towards the center. So as I'm here, the cap is going to be close to the wall, giving me a clean edge on this side and a bit of a fuzz around here. Then I'm going to paint it in movement. So I'm going to go from side to side and I'm going to press. I'm basically going to go from side to side, but I'm only going to press down, side to side and press down, side to side and press down. It's easier if you go than if you're pressing all the time like this, you're not going to be accurate. It's going to be something like this with loads of buildup is not great. The best thing to do is you aim for the center and you just do a simple one. And then I'm aiming to the center and I'm doing little bursts. You see, I keep aiming towards the center. And once this is done, again, I can just cover all of that.
They do a blue for the sky, green for the hill, and then they do a bit of detail on the hill, a bit of detail on the sky, a bit more detail and so on. You want to work on an overall picture together. You don't just want to finish one eye and the other one is not in place. The two reasons for that: one, if you messed it up and you spend all that time, you might just walk away as opposed to try and correct it. And two is speed. You paint a lot quicker if you work on the overall picture, and then you do a bit in the ear, a bit in the eye, a bit in the nose, and then you come back. Excuse me. you really want to work on the entire portrait. You see, I'm adding a bit of detail, and then I'll go to the other eye, add a bit of detail, go a bit on the nose, go on the lips and so on. Just add a bit of detail everywhere. And then you get something decent. There is a problem in the right eye. The eyelid is slightly too low, which I picked up later on, again by moving back, and then I corrected it. So that's going to get sorted. Sometimes when you see a mistake, I'm adding the red inside the eyes. And for that I'm using the same color as the lips, the oak brown. Sometimes when you see a mistake, go to it straight away and correct it, because otherwise you forget. And how many times have I gone home, I looked at the picture and I was, oh no, I left this, I forgot. And then it can be overwhelming. That's why you really have to keep the cans in the shade. That's why you have to have a sort of map in your head. You want to work on this. And that's it. That's about all there is to it.
I'm going to pull and push forward. Pull and push forward. Now I'm going to pull more and push forward. And push forward. So now what you want to do is really do as many dots and lines as possible. So you want to vary the distance and the amount of pull on the trigger. So if you're doing dots, okay, so this section is going to be about tips and more importantly, troubleshoot. An airbrush is a great tool, but is also quite problematic at times. And when you're new to it, you don't know why it's going wrong, why something's happening, if the paint is not coming out of the airbrush. So that could be because the paint is too thick. Maybe you're using an acrylic, maybe you're using some emulsion-based paint, which is very thick. The best thing would be to use too much force and too much pressure, and it doesn't allow the paint to travel through the pipe. So what you want to do is reduce the amount of pressure that you've got in your airbrush. With this, there is a step. If I jam the needle at it, I will damage the needle. So that's why I prefer the other one as well. And it's just easier and more forgiving to use.
There, that's when I put the undiluted white, and I'm just making everything ping even more, like the eyebrows, hair, and certain bits. There was something in the nose that I didn't like. There was a part that was too, it looked a bit too dark on the tip of his nose, so I worked on this. I'm not sure if I showed it in the video. And one thing that's important, especially with airbrushing, with spray cans, yes, but not as much, is to go over the blacks at the end, because as you're painting and as you overspraying the colors, see, this is gone like maroon now and not black. So to really create the shadows and the bits of the face that really dip in, like the holes of the nose and so on, you want to go back at the end with some black, just to make the blacks more blacks. Because during your painting, it's got softer. As you can see there, it looks black, but as I'm putting the black there, it looks darker, and it creates depth a bit more. And I'm doing the same there with the eyebrows.
The angle you want the trowel to be, so you see, a bit like a snowboard, you're dragging it, and that's going slow, and then you're going from left to right, and as you're going a bit faster, you don't really see the shift from left to right, but it's really what's happening. You doing it like this, so it looks like you're just dragging it in one direction, but really you always make sure it's got an edge. Some PVA glue like this on the indoor wall will make it look shinier and make it even more believable. Compound or some type of wax to a car, but it has a bit of a texture, so you can use it. As I said, there are loads of different looks you can do. You can add chrome and whatever to it, more brown. It's really it's so cool when you're painting paint effects. You have a lot of freedom to create. You know, it's really fun to do. Highly recommend doing them. It won't be very black. So in this case, I just finished all of this. I let it dry, and then I've added some gaps with the black. Again, freehand to make it look really rough, as the wood, you know, would have aged and warped over time. But you could simply use a roller if you prefer to have a much straighter lines. You don't have to use black to create big gaps. You could just use masking tape as you're using the rubber cones, and that alone would create a separation, and that'd be enough. It's good to have some planks that look like they've been cut and joined like this. It's really free. You can do a lot that you want. And once all of this is dry, if you want, you can add, say, a blue, and then use the rubber comb again. So whether you're painting on a wooden panel, bricks, maybe a car or something, oftentimes you'll have to use some type of filler. Again, if you're painting in the street, in most cases it doesn't matter, you just paint and off you go. But if you're painting for a client, like a private client, a lot of the time you'll have to get the surface ready and looking good. The size of a pea. If you put more than you need to, it's going to dry quicker, but it already has a drying time of about 3-4 minutes, so you have to be pretty quick. So now what you want to do is you want to mix this white hardener with the filler, and you want to be very thorough, otherwise the filler is not going to dry evenly and perfectly. So you just want to spread it, make sure and scrape it, make sure the hardener gets mixed everywhere properly. Okay, now we're going to talk about how to get work. Personally, if I was the one buying this course, this is the one point that I would focus on the most. How do I get paid for doing what I love? And again, this is not something that people really talk about, but I'm going to tell you what works for me. I'm sure other things work for other people, but I'm going to tell you what has worked in the past. I've been doing this for 20 something years or something, so it seemed to work. I'll just tell you what works for me. Hopefully it works for you as well. Okay, that brings us to the end of the course. I hope this course has been beneficial to you. You can go back and forth and watch the videos and learn at your own pace. And I hope it's given you an insight on what it is to be like to be a mural artist, but at the same time, I hope I've given you enough admin skills and painting skills and all of those other things.